Hi, this is Professor Cordes, and this is the Week 2 lecture video for English 113 Composition. This week, ladies and gentlemen, we are proofreading and editing our profile writing. You will notice that you did a lot of the preliminary work last week as far as your draft is concerned during week 1. Now it is time for us to go back, revise, modify, change, improve to the best of our abilities. Usually the first draft encompasses the content, like, hey, this is our ideas, our thoughts, our descriptive details. Now it's time to make sure that everything is in place. Grammar, punctuation, looking at the flow. Does it sound academically inclined when we read it, aloud to another person? Will a reader understand what this is as they read it independently on their own? So I'm going to be posting a video along like editing and proofreading. You've did the reading, which actually kind of describes what it's like. I've got up here on the page just this idea. Sorry, let me back up. I have on my screen the requirements for the assignment itself. This doesn't give you much insight into editing and proofreading. You would need to go to your text for that. However, let me offer you some tricks and details for what that's like. You have been in this profile writing for 2 weeks, 14 days. That's a long time, okay, to have something kind of in the back of your mind that you're working on. Now, the best opportunity is to let it sit, let it rest, come back to it with fresh eyes. Also, you're going to need to get outside perspectives. So what I mean by that is you sent your paper off to the Smart Thinking, the tutoring response, and you got a lot of feedback. I would actually have my papers side by side so I could see what are they asking us, how can I fix it in this other part. If they say that this sentence does not make sense or you should switch something around, go to your paper, write it out. I personally am a tangible person, so when I come to do my writing, I like to have a hard copy in front of me, because if I'm on the computer, I'm searching for it and scrolling and back and forth. I like my papers in front of me. That way I can see and physically make that change, go back to the computer at another time. Because these things have been in your mind for so long, it's best to let them rest. Now, what I mean by that is, one, you have to manage your time well. You can't do this 3 hours before the assignment is due. But what I mean by this is working on it significantly enough to where it's to the best of your ability. Like, okay, I think I've revised this enough. I think I've fixed these mistakes, and taking it and tabling it and letting it be. Okay. I would say at least for 24 hours, because when you come back to it later, you'll be able to see it with fresh eyes. So as an example, I was working on my master's thesis. I was trying to craft chapter 2, and I'm working. It was like 3 or 4 days where I was just in front of the computer trying to articulate my thoughts and get them all out. It was rough. It was really bad. I had done all this research. I had done all this reading, just like you guys have done all the profile investigation, the interview. You've gathered all this information, and it was really hard for me to write it all out. So at that moment in time, my brother came into town. We went out to dinner. We went back to my apartment. We ended up playing some card games for like 3 or 4 hours. It was a great visit with my brother. And he left. I was cleaning up. And this just kind of thought was like, what about this? And I immediately stopped what I did. I ran over to the computer and I started typing, and everything flowed out because I had the opportunity for my brain to rest. And it's important for you guys to let your brains rest, because you've been profile, details, MLA, APA, like you've been overwhelmed for the first week and a half. Now it's time, let it rest. Stop working on it at 7:00 at night. Watch a movie, read a book, go for a walk, go out, get some ice cream, whatever you need to do to break the mold. Let it sit, let it rest, come back to it after 24 hours, and then be like, okay, let me look at this. And you get to hold up your paper and be like, oh, yeah, that's not what I meant. Oh my goodness, that sentence does not make sense at all. Now I get it. Okay. And you can begin to go back. The other thing that you will need to do is to have someone that you can rely on to actually offer positive feedback in real time. Okay, so the smart thinking came back to you, but it's not a one-on-one conversation. What I would actually recommend is reading your writing out loud so you can hear the flow, the sentences, how things make sense, repeated words. A lot of times people don't realize that they are repeating words over and over until they hear it out loud. Okay. Do one even better and have someone that you love or someone that loves you read your essay to you. So there's been times in my writing career where I've handed someone a document and I sat there with a piece of paper and I said, go ahead, can you read this to me real quick? And they'll read it out loud and I'll be like, okay, wait, pause 1 second, add more detail to that sentence. Okay, go again. Oh, that phrasing is like chunky and doesn't flow well. Fix that sentence. I will mark things down as I go so that I'm able to, because I hear it, because it's outside of my head, okay, as part of the proofreading process. The other thing, I think I mentioned it in a previous video, is a proofreading trick that I've learned is to read your essay backwards. Go sentence by sentence, backwards and backwards, and you're able to understand the way that it's formatted. So you can kind of begin to sound like, oh, this sentence stands on its own. It's great. And then go to another one. Wait, that's not connected to these. So reading it backwards, that's my own thing. That's my own type of crazy when it comes to writing. But if it works for you, go for it. These tricks, these things, you kind of have to really work at it to figure out what works best for you. I'm going to hopefully I'm going to offer feedback as well to your writing. Okay. If you didn't get it from me, I don't know why. That's part of my job. I want to make sure that you guys have feedback, but offering feedback for your writing so you can say, oh, I need to switch this. Yes, this doesn't make sense. By doing this, you will strengthen your writing. Okay. Just as an athlete goes through training, there's a component where they have to really, really push themselves. And unfortunately for us, or maybe fortunately for us, this is the part where we really push ourselves. Okay. Working at grammar, that's something that's very difficult for a lot of us. I would always just make sure that you've got like a subject, a verb, and then what's the rest of the sentence. Okay. Things will begin to flow naturally. Your style, your tone, your sentence structure, the syntax, all of that will begin to flow for the proofreading process. Okay. Please make sure to email me if you have any questions or concerns. Again, this week you're just kind of finalizing and fine tuning what this writing looks like. But this stuff will help you with like that fine polish on your writing. It will help you to craft, and we'll use these skills actually later for the other different types of writing as well. So this is the week 2 lecture video on proofreading. If you do have questions or concerns, let's say you write something or you're unfamiliar with grammar or you're not sure if you should put in a semicolon or not, send me an email. I will gladly help you through any of those questions. Okay. Thanks so much. Can't wait to read your writing.